When a billionaire falls in love with his humble maid, his arrogant daughter fights to stop the wedding. But a shocking twist at the altar changes everything. Wealth, betrayal, and secrets, this story will keep you on the edge of your seat. Watch till the end because the revelation at the altar will leave you speechless. Like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling African stories. Comment below, would you support this marriage or side with the daughter? Sophia Williams had everything: beauty, expensive clothes, a rich father, and a life of luxury. She was born into a world of unimaginable wealth. As the only daughter of billionaire Richard Williams, she was treated like royalty, and she carried herself with that same air of superiority. She had never known what it meant to struggle, to work hard, or to earn respect. Everything had always been handed to her on a silver platter. But she had one problem. She loved to mistreat those she considered beneath her, especially the maids. The worst of all was Olivia. Olivia was a quiet, humble girl who had been working in the Williams mansion for 2 years. Unlike the other maids, who tried to avoid Sophia, Olivia always held her head high, refusing to cower in fear. She did her work with grace and never complained, no matter how much Sophia tried to humiliate her. One evening, as Sophia and her friends lounged by the poolside, sipping exotic cocktails, she suddenly called Olivia. "Bring my handbag from the car," she snapped, not even looking at her. Olivia obeyed, walking toward the driveway. But just as she returned with the bag, Sophia smirked. "You're too slow," she said coldly. "Next time, run." Then, with a wicked glint in her eyes, she deliberately tipped her glass, letting the cold, sticky cocktail spill all over Olivia's neatly ironed uniform. "Oh no!" Sophia gasped in mock concern. "You should be more careful, Olivia. You're always making mistakes." Her friends laughed, enjoying the humiliation. But Olivia didn't react. She simply clenched her fist, swallowed her pride, and walked away. What Sophia didn't know was that her father, Richard Williams, had seen everything. And he wasn't pleased. Richard Williams was a man of power and mystery. Though he was one of the richest men in the country, he was also a widower, a man who rarely showed emotion. But behind closed doors, he had a secret. He was in love with Olivia. It had started months ago when he noticed her kindness, her quiet strength. Unlike the fake women who chased after him for his wealth, Olivia was genuine. She never sought attention, never tried to impress anyone. And Richard admired that. He had kept his feelings hidden, watching Olivia from a distance, unsure of how she felt. But after witnessing Sophia's cruelty that evening, something inside him snapped. The time had come to act. The following morning, he called Olivia into his private study. She entered nervously, unsure why the billionaire had summoned her. "Sir," Olivia said hesitantly as she entered the richly furnished office. Richard looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Sit down, Olivia." She obeyed, keeping her head down, her heart hammering in her chest. It was rare for him to address her directly, let alone call her into his personal space. "Do you like working here?" he asked suddenly. Olivia hesitated. She knew the truth was dangerous. "It's okay, sir." Richard sighed. "I saw what happened last night. And the night before. And every other time Sophia has humiliated you." Olivia lowered her gaze. "It's fine, sir. It's nothing. I'm used to it." "You shouldn't be," he said, his voice firm. "No one should treat you that way." Olivia looked up, surprised. No one had ever cared before. For the first time, Olivia saw something in his eyes, something warm. Something deep. Then, Richard leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto hers. "Olivia, I don't see you as just an employee. I see you as someone important." Her heart pounded. "Olivia," he continued, I've thought about this for a long time. I don't care about what the world will say, I only care about what I feel. And I feel that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. A shiver ran down Olivia's spine. Sir, I don't understand. Richard took a deep breath. I want you to be my wife. Sophia was furious when she heard the news. She stormed into her father's study, her face red with rage. Tell me it's a lie, she spat. You can't marry a maid. Richard remained calm. It's my decision, Sophia. It's an embarrassment. What will people say? A billionaire marrying a common housemaid. Have you lost your mind? I expect you to show some respect, Richard warned. Tell me this is a joke, Dad. Richard remained seated, calm as ever. It's not a joke, Sophia. You're going to marry a maid, she spat, her face red with fury. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? What will people say? What will the business world think? I don't care what people think, Richard said simply. But I do. Sophia cried. You're ruining our reputation. You can have any woman you want, Dad. Any woman. And you're choosing a maid. A nobody. A common house girl. Richard's expression hardened. You will not speak about Olivia like that. She will be your stepmother, and you will treat her with dignity. Sophia felt like she had been slapped. Stepmother. Sophia shouted. She's not good enough for you. She's poor. She doesn't belong in our world. Richard stood up. His tall frame towered over his daughter. Sophia, he said in a dangerously calm voice, I love Olivia. And I am marrying her. You don't have to accept it, but you will respect it. Sophia trembled with fury, her privileged world crashing down. How could her father, the mighty Richard Williams, choose her maid over every sophisticated woman in high society? But no matter how much she raged, how much she begged, her father's decision was final. The wedding was set. The grand wedding was held at one of the most luxurious hotels in Nigeria. The entire hall glittered with golden chandeliers, imported floral arrangements, and walls draped in the finest silk. Celebrities, politicians, and billionaires filled the seats, each eager to witness what was already being called the wedding of the century. Olivia looked breathtaking in a custom-made white gown, but beneath her beauty, she was nervous. She could feel the cold stares, the whispers of disapproval. But Richard didn't care. He only had eyes for her. Sophia, sitting in the front row with her arms crossed, glared at Olivia like she wanted to strangle her. Then, just as the ceremony was about to begin, an unexpected guest arrived. A young woman in a black dress stepped forward. She looked nervous, but determined. Wait, she called out. The entire hall fell silent. Who is this? Someone whispered. The woman took a deep breath. My name is Clara, and Richard Williams is my father. Gasps filled the room. Sophia's face turned pale. What nonsense is this? She shouted. Silence fell over the hall. Richard had a secret even bigger than his love for Olivia. Many years ago, before he became a billionaire, he had fallen in love with a woman named Anita. She was the love of his life, but due to family pressure, he had been forced to marry Sophia's mother instead. However, Anita had been pregnant with his child, Clara. He had secretly supported her and their daughter all these years, but he had never introduced Clara to the public. Until now. Richard sighed deeply. It's true. The hall erupted into chaos. Murmurs and whispers echoed through the hall. Sophia's world tilted. She wasn't her father's only child. Sophia stared at her father in disbelief. Dad, what is she talking about? Richard rubbed his forehead. I should have told you earlier. Then, he turned to the guests. Many years ago, before I became rich, I fell in love with a woman named Anita. We had a child together. That child is Clara. Sophia felt like the ground had disappeared under her feet. So I'm not your only daughter? No, Richard said. Clara is my firstborn. She was no longer the only Williams princess. The hall was silent. Sophia felt like the ground was collapsing beneath her. She wasn't her father's only daughter. Clara turned to Olivia, her expression soft. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I had to come. I wanted to meet you. And I wanted to meet my sister. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. This wasn't just a wedding. It was the start of a new family. Sophia, on the other hand, felt sick. First, her father had chosen Olivia over her. And now, she had a sister she never knew existed. This was the worst day of her life. Despite the shocking revelation, Richard and Olivia got married that day. The scandal exploded overnight. News outlets ran headlines like, "Billionaire Richard Williams' secret daughter exposed at wedding." But amid the chaos, Olivia and Clara found an unlikely bond. Unlike Sophia, Clara was warm and kind. Sophia, however, remained bitter. Sophia refused to leave her room for days. She ignored calls from her friends, refused to eat. The realization that her arrogance had cost her everything sank in slowly. She had mistreated Olivia for years. And now, Olivia was her father's wife. Her stepmother. Days passed by. Sophia went to her father's study, looking angry and sad. Sophia, I understand that this is a shock. A shock. Sophia scoffed. Dad, this is an insult. First, you married our maid, and then you brought an unknown daughter into our family. I didn't bring her, Richard said. She is already family. Sophia felt tears sting her eyes. So what am I, then? Am I no longer important to you? Richard softened. You will always be my daughter, Sophia. But you are not my only daughter. And now Olivia is no longer a maid, she is my wife. She's not your wife, Sophia snapped. She's a maid pretending to be one of us. Richard shook his head. You don't understand love, Sophia. You only understand power. But love isn't about money or class. Love is about the heart. Sophia's throat tightened. I have given you everything, Richard said. And I will continue to love you because you are my daughter. But I will not tolerate this hatred anymore. Sophia looked at her father. So what happens now? Richard was silent for a long time. Then he sighed. That's up to you. Sophia realized that the only person ruining her life was herself. She had two choices. She could keep fighting a battle she would never win. Or she could accept Olivia and Clara as part of her family. She turned to leave, pausing at the door. Then, in a quiet voice, she asked, Do you think Olivia will ever forgive me? Richard gave her a small smile. That depends on you, Sophia. Sophia knew there was nothing she could do about it. And she had no choice but to change.